We'll get started. I just want to start off by really starting with some people that I'm proud of and I'm thankful for, and that starts with leadership with um, George and Kevin for their support, um, not only just on a daily basis, but in terms of resources and priorities, making sure that our football team and our players are first, and that has a huge impact on how we did this year and how we move forward. I want to thank Ben for his dedication to this job. It didn't feel. He talks about being a first-time coach. It didn't feel that way at all. His ability to take, like you said, the words off the wall and push that to his players and see them respond was incredible. Even in some of the feedback we got, these guys were just doubling down on his message. When it got to the locker room, there was no hesitation. There was no gray area. They pushed forward because they believed in what he was saying and what he needed from them, which was incredible. I want to thank our players for putting it on the line. Their hard work and dedication, selflessness, being great teammates to each other um, was incredible to see their buy-in. Again, that's the reason why we do what we do, is putting our players in a position to be successful, and seeing them do their part was excellent. Especially that leadership group was awesome. Want to thank our coaches. Ben challenged them. We knew with an early bye week that development from our depth to our practice squad was going to be really important, and they did that. I saw a lot of players level up throughout the season. If that was from rookies or guys that were maybe not even on the roster when we started, they were prepared and ready to go. And really specifically Da and his ability and his defensive staff's ability to do that. There's a lot of challenges, guys up and down, and anyone that came in there was ready to go to compete and help us win football games. He did an incredible job putting that group together. Our support staff, selflessness, that's the word that comes to my mind, and passion in terms of, again, putting the players first, making sure they're in the best position, taking care of their bodies, nutrition, staying strong. We had a number of guys do some great things in terms of maintaining their strength from the first week to the very end, which is critical for us to have success on the back end of the season. Our front office, just in terms of the evaluation process, bringing in guys that can help impact our team. You look at that all pro staff. You got a draft pick, you got a guy you traded for, and someone that you acquired in free agency, and that's a lot of credit to that group. I got to give Ian and Jeff a shout out. Even through this, when you win playoff games and you push back, the calendar gets shrunk on you, and those guys are up there running free agent meetings right now, keeping this thing moving forward, because we know the challenges that we have continue to build this roster. Um, and then I want to thank our fans. As Coach said, I'll never forget those playoff games, the games at the end of the season. They brought it. I had never seen Soldier Field like that before. I can't wait to get back to that point. I had family members flying in O'Hare texting me saying, I've never seen anything like this, in terms of the amount of pride that our fans had wearing their Bears gear, pumped up about the upcoming game. We felt that, and that's part of a job that we don't talk about a lot. Is just inspiring a fan base, inspiring the community, bringing that joy and that fun to a community because of the football team and how they're doing. Coach hit it. We didn't reach what we wanted, the goals that we wanted to hit, and that's to be a championship caliber team. That'll never change. But as we've moved a couple of days past that, I am proud of the progress that we've made. And knowing that, we can't be complacent. We got to keep pushing forward. We both come from organizations that have stacked success back-to-back years, and we know the challenge that comes with having success and then trying to get back to that the following year. I can tell you right now, we're all excited for that challenge in terms of building this team back up, making the tweaks, continuing to tighten the screws on the process and the people that we need to continue to elevate for us to get back to where we were and then exceed that and win championships around here. I do think it's important to take a step back, to get fresh eyes, to try not to wait maybe the last 3 games heavier than everything else. So we'll do that, get back together, look at the roster. As Coach said, there's some challenges and some big decisions we got to make. But I'm excited for that. Usually that means you're in a good position and you're having success. And the more success you have, the more challenges and hard decisions you got to make, and those will be critical for us to sustain it. In terms of injuries, just some updates. Obviously, some long-term injuries because of them happening late in the season. Both Ozzy and Noah, they've had surgery and they've already kicked off their process. Guys that we expect in the offseason in some capacity, whether that's in the spring or the start of training camp. So Shamar is doing well. He's rehabbing. Dio, TJ, Smitty, Zay, Frazier, Karan, all those guys are progressing to be back this offseason. Some minor deal that happened in the last game, Jalen Johnson. It's just a minor thing, no surgery. He had a wrist. He'll be fine shortly. And then Jordan McFadden, credit to him and his toughness. Had an ankle injury. He's got to get that worked on. He finished the game, which was incredible. But he'll be back and ready to go at some point this offseason. So I'll open up to questions from there.
Ryan, with Ozzy, what is the timetable on his return, and how is that going to impact what you may or may not have to do to get a veteran option to fill in?
Yeah, that's a part of our job. Really unfortunate because I thought he was coming along. I was looking forward to him getting this offseason. I don't have a specific timetable. I'm sure it'll be somewhere, deep into next year for the injury. So had a good conversation with him. He knows this is part of his journey he's going to have to overcome. I got a lot of faith in him and our staff to get him back ready to go whenever that is. But specific timetables, I don't have that right now.
Ryan, with Caleb specifically, how much of what you saw this year was something that you saw him do in college? And did he do anything that went beyond your expectations or that leveled up in a way that surprised you?
Yeah, when you watched his college tape, you knew that some of those wild throws were part of his game. I would say the one thing that stands out that I was happy to see come back was just his pocket presence, his ability to escape. I think that's a rare trait that he has. You saw that come alive. But with that said, and Ben hit it, there's still a lot of work to be done. But I think it gets you excited about what he can become as long as he continues on the path that he was on before.
You mentioned the hard decisions that you have to make, and you got two safeties on Brisker and Kevin Byard. I mean, what are your initial thoughts about the potential bringing both of those guys back, or is that unrealistic?
Yeah, like I said, we're going to take a step back and kind of evaluate that and put that puzzle together. It's actually 4 safeties that are not under contract for next year, so I got a lot of faith in our process that we'll do that. I think Kevin's a special player. I have no problem saying that's a player that we would like to have back. But again, when you add the other safeties into that mix and all the other decisions we have across the roster, cap restraints, things like that, it'll be a challenge. But that's part of what we do.
Right. Now, how do you reflect on Ben's work in developing players and establishing this culture and taking this thing the way he did in year one?
It was incredible. I loved watching him. I asked him the other day, I'm like, just his messaging to the team, it moves the team, and they're locked in, and they listen, and they take it back to the locker room and to the field, and the buy-in was incredible. I'll go back to training camp. He needed a physical day in the dog days of camp, and that was a really cool opportunity to see those guys buy into what he was saying, do something really hard. And in the moment, does it feel good? No, but they believed from his message that would help us down the road, and they went all out with it. And you saw that go through the entire season.
Ben talked about the poise under pressure in some of these late, one-score games. How did you see the staff sort of foster that throughout the year?
Yeah, I go back to he set it up in the beginning. I mean, we watched some examples across the league of games that were a little, out of whack at halftime and even into the third quarter. And we had some guys in the room that have been in those situations and heard from them. How did you handle it? Locker room, your teammates, and poise was really the common message between everybody. Or if it was on the other side, it was a lack of poise. And so it started early. The staff is on the same page with Ben. Like they don't panic. They keep coaching. And they put part of really good coaches, in my experience, is they put you in tough positions in training camp and in practice to see how you handle it, and you get repetitions at it, and it comes alive on game day, which it did.
Ryan, what would be the difference going into an offseason where you are now looking to complete a roster to be a Super Bowl contender versus starting where you've been in the past trying to build the roster? And how will that difference kind of inform decisions that you make?
Yeah, you just have more constraints, but at the same time, I don't think the process changes. You're going to identify the guys that fit what we want in our football team, which Coach hit, and you just keep trying to acquire those players. We know what they look like, we know how they act, they know how they talk, and we'll continue to do that. I think that's part of the thing is, one, can you self-evaluate and be critical of yourself and your team to make sure that you know what you have in the building? And then can you just keep pounding away and sticking to your process? You make tweaks, of course, but stick to the process of bringing in the right types of people, and it usually works out for you. I think when you see it across the league all the time, you panic and you want to do crazy things that everybody else wants you to do. It leads to some situations that you can't get out of. So we want to stay flexible. We want to stay open-minded. We want to stay committed to building this team the right way, because I think that's the best way to sustain success. We're always going to be opportunistic. We're going to go through opportunities that pop up and talk through them. And is this best for us short-term? Is it best for us long-term? And then we move from there.
You're saying Max Crosby isn't coming.
I don't know.
How would you evaluate the offensive line, specifically the guys you brought in this offseason to be kind of that core and have that veteran leadership?
Yeah, it was cool to see them go through the process. I think one thing with O-line, it's almost like it's choreographed. Like, you got to work together. It's a unique position where that's true. And seeing those guys figure it out early on, and then for that to come together, I think the kind of the pinnacle of that was probably the Philly game, where you could see those guys rolling. And we took their identity that day, and so it was really cool to see. And they're all very different. Joe's quiet, Drew's cerebral, Jonah's the physicality that you get from that group, a little bit more vocal than the rest. You saw Darnell growing because of his experience with those interior threes. So proud of the way that they moved this year, and look forward to them getting back to work and continuing to improve.
How would you evaluate Darnell, where did you see the jump with Darnell's growth this year?
Yeah, it was steady through the season. I think that's one thing we've challenged him, is the consistency part. I think there's some ups and downs every once in a while. But when he strings it together, it's really, really good, and it's going to help us win football games. I love watching him come off the ball and move people. And when he has this confidence and belief in himself that he's the best on the field, I think he can be one of the best to do it. He just has to show up and continue to put that work in and get there. So I love his work in the off season and the weight room. I think it started there for him and then built up. But with those guys and their leadership, it definitely rubbed off on Darnell.
Ryan, how would you evaluate the defense, particularly the pass rush and the run defense?
Yeah. There's a lot going on there, just in terms of we had some injuries going on that you have to overcome. I think that's an area we're going to continue to press and get better. I look forward to Shamar getting back and Dio getting back. I thought Sweat did a good job this year. I think sometimes we get hung up on sacks, and sacks are important. He did get into double digits, but I think his all-around game was good. The way he defended the run, defended the perimeter, as well as applied pressure, was good. But we need him to continue to get better too. So we'll evaluate everything, but that's always O-line, D-line is always going to be a space where we want to get better.
Ryan, how does it feel? Did you feel like you guys had some synergy with draft and development this year? And if so, what was different besides you had different coaches involved?
Yeah, I'll just talk about this year. I mean, drafting and developing, that's the ultimate collaboration between a front office and a coaching staff. You got to have a shared vision of what we're asking those guys to do. And then that commitment to the players got to commit to improving, but also the coaches pouring into them and getting them up to speed so that they can become pros is important. So that clear vision, clear collaboration between coach and front office, that's something that we got going on, and we'll continue to improve and get better. But yeah, you can see it come to life. You can really see it come to life this year. If it was the way Colson played to Kyle. I mean, Kyle did a great job this year too. So that's a lot of coaching. Once guys get in the building, and they did a great job.
Ryan, when you win so many games by a close margin, do you look at that as, hey, we know how to win, or as our margin is really thin going forward and maybe, you can't be satisfied?
Yeah, well, I'll just start with the last thing you said. I don't think you can be satisfied. I heard the whole cardiac bear thing. I'd rather not be the cardiac bears. But if that's what that game needs, then that's what you need to do. But I do think you got to win close games. When you get down to that 2 minutes, it's important. They repped that a lot, and the guys were prepared for it. Yeah, I don't think you want to be living on the edge all the time, but I think what you can take from this season is that we were able to have poise down the stretch of games and be poised to finish, and guys made plays when they needed to be made. I don't think that's a characteristic that you should ever shy away from.
What was your point of view on the touchdown at the end of regulation?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was a ridiculous throw, and that's, I mean, credit to him and his genetics and his arm and his ability to create and pocket awareness. And I think this year I realized how athletic he is. Like, I knew he was a good athlete. He's a little awkward in his movements, but like it's unique in the way that he can get out of things and move his body. So, yeah, he'll continue to get better and lean into the traits that he has.
Ryan,
When you
say
evaluate your draft class, is there a trait that stands out that was a common theme through everybody there? Because there's an argument that this was probably the best draft class you've had with so many guys hitting and so many guys that show potential that didn't get to play this season.
They all love football. It's passion for the game. That's one of our criteria that we have on this kind of gear to make it tick. They love football. It only takes a few minutes being around Colston Loveland to know that he is so passionate about it. He wants to be great. He wants to be great for his teammates. He loves ball. They all love ball, and that's a key thing. We'll continue to lean into that.
Zay's situation was kind of unique. What did he do this season, and is he, whatever he was dealing with, is he past it now where you anticipate he'll be able to contribute next year?
Yeah, so I had a good conversation with him. He's back. He'll be back, going in this offseason like everybody else. He feels like he's in a really good place to develop and move forward. Definitely a setback. He's got a mountain to climb just for missing so much ball he needed to play. So that'll be up to him to be able to get himself in the right position to compete for a roster spot.
Right. With DJ, made some of the biggest touchdowns this team's ever seen. Also, not the numbers that he put up a couple years ago. What's kind of your overall perspective on his fit this year and then moving forward?
Yeah, I'll use his words. He didn't care about stats. All he cared about winning. It's the most winning DJ's ever had, probably since high school. That's all he cares about. In terms of roster, like I said, we got a lot of decisions to make and figuring that out. I think what stood out about DJ this year is the level of toughness rubbed off on our team. Guys, if they were dinged up, like they almost had to go because DJ was going. He was able to fight through a lot. Got a lot of respect for him.
Thank you.
Good morning. Man, just in regards to last season, I really appreciate our guys. They came in the springtime and they dedicated a large amount of trust to what we were doing, buy-in, work ethic. They sacrificed a lot, and that's what gave us a chance there at the end. We won games. We put ourselves in a good position, but ultimately we came up short. And so our guys are going to learn from this. The guys that we're able to bring back, and I can't say enough good things about this particular group of coaches, of players, of support staff. I thought they were special, and I said that at the end of the year. They believed that, and I'll forever be grateful for what they were able to do this season. But we're one of the 31 other teams that fell short. If anything, that just rejuvenates me and makes me want to push harder and longer than what we did this past season. So I'm already looking ahead to 2026 myself. With that being said, I'm really excited about seeing this city, this fan base come to life. These last two games, I'll never forget. Just the energy, the vibe, you could feel that, and it is a serious home field advantage that we're creating here in Chicago. That's something that we got to continue to build upon as we go forward. Talked to our guys a little bit on Monday, just in terms of where we are and how we're moving ahead. We go back to square one. It's back to the bottom again, and we got to build this thing back up. You know, Ryan and I have some really difficult decisions to make over the course of this offseason, but we're committed to bringing in competitive players, football players that are going to make us better time and time again. So, you know, the thing is, you can look at 2025 and you can say, hey, it's a great start. Well, the truth is, it was really hard to accomplish what we accomplished, and it wasn't good enough. And it's going to be that much harder to put ourselves in that position again next season. And so, a lot of work coming up. I know our players, when they come back, you know, they'll be ready to go. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Virginia McCaskey and just the impact she had on us and this team this year. You know, I got hired and was shortly thereafter that she passed away, and yet this year was really dedicated to her. You know, we wore the patch as a team in honor of her and the impact she's had on this organization in this city. So I'd be remiss if I didn't bring her up and talk about how important she was for us this year. With that being said, I'll go ahead and open it up.
And circling back to Sunday really quick, the last offensive snap, you guys ran the interception. What was your review of that play through Caleb's lens, through DJ's lens?
Yeah, I have not studied the tape a whole lot. My last 2 days have been focused solely on our players. We've had about 20 hours of exit interviews. It's all about our players. I'll go back, I'll review that tape. Here's what I'll say just off the cuff about that particular play. If there was any sort of miscommunication, that's my problem. That's no one else's but mine. So I got to do a better job coaching that up.
Philosophically, what do you guys like about getting the ball second?
Yeah, well, the overtime rules change in the postseason, and we felt like kicking it off was the way to go, so that we would know exactly what we need to do. So I'm not going to get into it a whole lot beyond that.
You said there's a lot of work to do. It's going to be more difficult. Besides Caleb, what gives you confidence that you guys are going to be able to build off this and that
Yeah, there is no building off of this. We go back to square one. We're back at the bottom again, and that's really all 32 teams. If you feel otherwise, you're probably missing the big picture. You know, we're back at. We got to start from scratch. We got to start from the fundamentals. You know, a lot of guys talked about how difficult this training camp was. I didn't feel like it was anything out of my ordinary. They know what the expectation is. They know what the process is that we believe in as a coaching staff. And so I think more than anything else, they're going to know what they're getting themselves into. And yet we got to dig a little bit deeper. We got to work a little bit harder. We got to give a little bit more if we want to take this thing over the top. I mean, it's no different. You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to lose 50 pounds. The first 30 is the easiest 30. You know, the last 20, that's the hard part. And so we did a nice job this year, but it's not enough. We got to do more.
What's the focus on with Caleb going into the offseason?
We'll circle back on that. We had a good exit interview. Just my main message to him was he needs to get out of football for a little bit. He's done a phenomenal job in terms of staying focused all year long. He put a lot of time, a lot of effort. I thought he grew up as a professional. I thought his communication to the coaching staff grew. I thought his communication to his teammates grew. But we will certainly have a number of points of emphasis that he can dive into when he comes back this springtime. But it's important for really all of us, coaches, players, support. We get away for a little bit. We hit the reset button. I think everyone needs that here at this point. The things that we highlighted for Caleb to start the season, I did think they improved as the season went along. You know, we revamped the footwork a little bit last spring, and I think the comfort level grew from that. He certainly got more comfortable with the concepts that we were running over the course of the season. That's something that we can build upon, and yet there's still a lot more that we can push through in that regard. And so I'm really encouraged about the steps he took this year. I'm Caleb Williams' #1 believer. You know, I have a lot of faith in him, what he's capable of doing, and the player that he's still striving to become.
Did DJ Moore leave the building either discouraged or injured? Because it's extremely rare when he doesn't talk to us.
You would have to talk to him about his mindset. We had a really good exit interview, and he's a player that I felt really helped us get to the point to where we were this year. We had an opportunity there, you know, a couple games away from the Super Bowl. So I thought he was a huge contributor to getting us there.
And acknowledging that you're resetting, you're starting over, what are some of the things that you built and the whole team built that are sustainable that you can see that guys can remember and still believe in, that are gonna help as you get back in April?
Well, I mean, our identity that we outlined, that we wanted to show on tape, I thought that came through, and we have it up in the team room. The words on a wall are one thing, but bringing it to life is another thing, and I thought those guys did that. The number one thing was physicality. I thought we were a physical unit on tape. That always starts in the trenches with your big guys, but I really think your little guys on the perimeter, they really helped define that. I thought we had receivers that were selfless, they were willing to block for their buddies. I thought we had DBs that were willing to tackle. I thought that showed up these last two games in particular. Really proud of that. So physicality was the number one thing that we hang our hat on. Number two is being sound, playing sound football, being fundamentally sound, and being schematically sound. And I thought that showed up week in and week out. We still can get better in some areas. Like when I think about being fundamentally sound, we got to do a better job catching the football next year. And I can tell you right now that'll be a point of emphasis for us when they come back in the springtime. But the last one was being a poised unit, and this is the one I'm most proud about. Just that ended up being our identity there for most of the season, and showed up in the playoffs as well. Just we handle pressure better than most, and I think that's a credit to Ryan and the type of guys that he brought in. They're wired the right way. They thrive in those circumstances, and that showed up for us in a big way. Our coaching staff tried to apply pressure on them early on in the springtime and throughout training camp, and I'm not saying they grew numb to it, but it's almost like they embraced it and that they were at their best in those moments. And so those are the three things that we wanted to be about, and I think we brought that to light. We'll reassess as a coaching staff, you know, where we need to go from here, but we got plenty of time to do that.
There's a real possibility you're gonna have to replace coaches this offseason. How big of a challenge, one, do you foresee that being? And two, is there a sense of pride that people are looking at a unit that you put together and saying, we think he would be a great leader over here?
Well, I told the players this just a week or two ago that it's rare in year one that you feel like you have a 5-star staff, and yet that's what I believe. Just over the course of the season, seeing how they conducted themselves, what they sacrificed, the time they put in, we got a great collection of coaches. It's the right mix of experience, energy, ideas, and so I think they're a big reason for the success that we were able to have and the games that we were able to win. To your point, I do think it's a lot. I see future head coaches on this staff. I see future coordinators. I see these young coaches being future position coaches. I see that all across the board. And so when you have success and you win games, normally that's what happens. I know we already have some slips coming through that other teams would like to interview some of our guys, and I'm all for it, man. I want these guys to continue to ascend. Anything I can do to help them out, I think they all know I'm more than willing to do that. But big part of what this collection of guys brought to the table is they all wanted to be here. You know, that was a big thing for me. I want guys that want to be here, and so if a guy wants to continue to build upon what we started, then I would love that as well. But this is a 5-star staff, and it's no surprise to me that we got a number of coaches that are garnering interest right now.
And how did your dynamic with Ryan play out, as you imagine, the idea of putting your vision together, building out this roster, and enjoying this success this season?
Yeah, no, I think we worked in tandem with all the decisions that went on during the course of the year. I certainly rely on him a ton because he's been through this a number of times already. Whereas for me, a lot of this was a first for me. So between Ryan handling a lot of the roster construction and the decision making over the course of the week, who's up, who's down, the injuries, I thought this thing worked out really, really well. And with that being said, we'll go back in the bunker here after a couple weeks and we'll assess where we can get better as well. That's our commitment to each other. That's our commitment to this organization is we got to continue to clean up, where we can find little edges that make us a little bit better over the course of the season. So that's what we'll do.
And you just touched on it a little bit. What's your process going to look like for evaluating the job you did in year one? Maybe looking at what you think you did well, what you can improve on.
Yeah, I mean, we will always dive into the self-scout process as a coaching staff. We have a ton of decisions to make with the roster. I think it always starts with making sure you're accurate on the evaluations of your own and how well they fit what you're asking them to do and whether it's someone you want to continue to move forward with or not. And I think now we're just at a much better position as a coaching staff in going into this season, just knowing who our guys are and what they'll end up being able to contribute for us in the future. And so we got to nail those. That'll be the number one objective when we come back from a little bit of a break. And I got a lot of confidence that we'll be able to get this thing right. But the self-scout process that'll occur. I mean, we got a whole off-season agenda. I know I like to think that we don't do a whole lot, but like the off-season is a whole new season of its own. So our coaching staff, they need a little break themselves, and I know we'll come back renewed and ready to go.
And from your seat, what's the significance of the offensive continuity that you seem to have in place going into 2026? Players, plays, all the things that carry forward from here.
Yeah. I mean, I think back at this year, and we made a number of strides. Okay, and Ryan did a phenomenal job acquiring talent, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. Up front, this offensive line, I feel like we got something to really build upon there. We've got weapons on the perimeter. Our quarterback's going to be a special player in this league. I think it starts there. Our running game picked up as the year went on, which I think is desperately needed, particularly we get these home games late in the year. It's a huge part of what we do and what we're about. And so with that being said, I think we did a number of really good things on offense, and yet we haven't even scratched the surface of what we're fully capable of yet. And so we'll talk about that. We'll address that as a coaching staff. How can we get better? I think it always starts with me as the offensive play caller. There's some areas I need to shore up. The weekly process that we had. It always starts there, but I think our guys are going to be a lot further along when they come back in the springtime. And like you mentioned, we got a core group of guys on that side of the ball that should be able to have some familiarity. So, thank you guys for everything this year.
Thank you, Coach.